Hello and welcome back to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. It's me again. I'm here as the host and I'm joined by another new guest on the channel. It's Kieran Jenkins from Proteus. How are you this morning, Kieran?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Me and Kieran met in person. I've been and done a tour with Kieran and the team at IMD and had a look around various different brands and products that they make and manufacture and then sell and distribute around the UK. So that was really interesting. And I wanted to share a bit of the background of Kieran and those companies on the podcast because I think there's a powerful and important message within all of that. So before we delve into the intricacies of the day job and the business that you're involved with now, what's your background, Kieran?
My background, I guess I've always been involved in sort of the electrical industry. My father was a motor rewinder by trade. He then got into sort of electrical contracting, sort of the bigger commercial industrial sort of electrical installations down in South Wales. And yeah, I worked with him throughout all the holidays, through my school years, and then went to university. And I was actually working down in South Wales with him on a site. We were doing a shutdown, some shutdown work, and I got a call from RPP, one of our businesses here. And they were looking for a trainee designer on a one-year placement from university. So I came up back in, what was that, mid-1997. Got an
That's
interview.
a long time ago now, isn't it? 1997. Perched
Yeah,
from
right.
the family business, I've got to say as well. Your poor father.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, he's since retired now, bless him. And but yeah, so I came up and got an interview and came away and I thought, oh yeah, I quite like the idea of this. So wiring accessories, CAD software and what have you. So I was already doing industrial product design at university as part of my degree. So the year placement was great for me. So I came and did 1 year between 1997 98. Sort of halfway through that period, I was asked by my boss whether I'd like to come back after university to work full time. So I said, yeah, actually, we'll negotiate. Can I come back 1 day a week throughout my final year? So I've got a little bit of money. And that was it. I finished, I think, on the 11th of June, would have been 1999. And I think the 14th of June, I started full time then with RPP. And then I worked my way up through then. I did product design, production engineering, purchasing, sales, and then became assistant manager then at RPP. I had a brief then sort of sabbatical. I left the business for a couple of years, or just less than a couple of years, went to the lighting industry. But that was good for me. It allowed me to go out, do some external selling throughout the Midlands region. And then the opportunity for Proteus switchgear came up in late 2006. And I was invited to come for an interview to look at the factory manager role at Proteus switchgear on the consumer unit division. And I took that job in late 2006 and all the way up until May of last year, I did that role. And in May of last year, promoted to senior works manager, looking after the single phase switchgear factory and also the RPP wiring accessory factory as well.
Wow, I mean that's quite a tale of working your way through the business from the bottom right up to the top, or the upper echelons of the top. You're getting close up there now. You might be running the entire division in the not too distant future.
Won't go that far.
You never know. You're on that meteoric rise, and that's one of the things I got the vibe from looking around when I came for my visit. Is there does seem to be that emphasis on promoting from within all of those companies, like a real family business vibe.
Yeah.
And at the start, I guess it was the right place, right time, as you said, getting in at the very beginning. But after that, you seem to have really been helped in your progression. Is that something that's, ingrained into those businesses?
Yeah, I think we will always look for to employ and promote from within the business. I think the way we operate, I think maybe people looking from outside in think, oh, that's a bit, why are you doing it that way? But actually, employing from within is great. And probably all the people that I work with now have all come from within the business. It's rare that we've employed externally. But we've got people that joined as laborers that have progressed on throughout the business. We've done the whole management trainee thing. We've done apprentices, but there's opportunities for everybody. Even at one of the businesses, we had a guy in the dispatch department. Turns out he's got a marketing degree, and actually we moved him into our design and marketing team. Another one was again in a different dispatch department, He's now an assistant manager at one of the other businesses. So yeah, we do that quite a lot. We take people who are showing that sort of willingness to get on within the business, within life, and we give them opportunities.
No, it's really good, and it's not consistent with what I've seen around other places I've visited. I've been out and had a look around a number of factories over the last couple of years, and it really was a standout thing from all of those places I've been with you guys. I think it's quite relevant. I'm hoping to release this podcast during the course of the National Apprenticeship Week. You can see that up here. So it's Skills for Life, and it's all of the opportunities that we get when we start our careers. And I think Proteus are really giving that to people, and the other brands as well. It's not just limited to Proteus. Yeah. It was the same at Centaur and Tamlex. Exactly the same principle. And I think it's really nice to see that. So it's UK manufacturing. We've got the UK warehousing and distribution, and it's all done with a team of people who've been there a long time alongside a trainee or someone who's working their way into the business now. And yeah, it was a really nice thing to see, and credit to you for doing it. And again, on this podcast, I want to raise awareness that it's not just about going out and putting wires and cables into buildings. There is loads of careers in the electrical industry. It's £1 billion big. It's ginormous when you look at it as a whole. And yeah, you can go and have a career like Kieran and end up on the other side of the fence selling us all this gear.
Who knows, eh? Yeah. No, I think we've got a lot of people. I think probably one of the things that you saw when you came here is the length of service for a number of employees as well. We've got two people, one who, both joined at the same time. One who's happy, in his role, and he does, printing, testing for us on devices. Another one has progressed up through the business to management, senior management level. But we need those people who are happy to to work in those environments and say they don't want that added pressure of going beyond. But there's a real sense of sort of job security in that, and we've historically throughout all our businesses we've got a long standing level of service there for quite a number of employees.
Yeah, I won't make you list all of the brands because I think there's quite a number in total. I think you said there's about 90, is there, altogether as part of the group as a whole?
The brands, yeah, there's quite a few when you delve down into it. So yeah, some current, some not so current anymore. So, but they're still held at the moment.
So I imagine there's quite a lot of industry oversight you get with having that. You're seeing a lot of what the demand is, I guess, out in industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah.
How did you kind of manage with that through COVID? Because we've all had this issue with the supply of materials, and one of the reasons I first started using a lot more of the Proteus equipment was we install a lot of EV stuff, and we couldn't get the circuit breakers, overcurrent protected devices. I'd used a bit of your gear before, in truth, but not at the volume we do now. And speaking around a number of other contractors working in the EV space, that seems to be a consistent thing. So did you have a different approach to your stock levels? Was it just a pure chance that you had this stuff in stock?
I think we're quite a fortunate company, in terms of our ability to invest in that stock. And I think when COVID hit, it was a very uncertain time for a lot of people, probably everybody. Difficult as a manager at the time. At the time we went to 75% of our workforce and said, look, we're going to have to furlough you because our sales were 80-90% down. And we had that for sort of 2 or 3 months, and we were thinking, okay, what's happening? How is this? Is it going to recover quickly? Is it going to take some time to recover? So there was a real sense of uncertainty there, at the beginning of COVID in 2020. But what we found then is probably April, May, and June were difficult months, but then we got into July, August, and it jumped back up, probably 100% growth on what we'd had previous couple of months. And then September 2020, it was just like the shackles were off, and everybody was going, right, we need stock and we need it now. So we carry a healthy stock anyway. So we had no real concern there, but obviously we were then able to say, right, let's get, circuit protected devices. That was the big thing, make sure we had plenty of those manufactured. We're fortunate we've got a facility, as you saw in Telford, do manufacturing of distribution switchgear. So they're self-sufficient, so no concern there. We've then got a facility in Turkey. So we get the consumer unit enclosures and the core range then of consumer units, if you like, manufactured at our facility in Turkey. And that actually served us really well. So we had a road freight delivery every week from them, and anything from, I don't know, 20 to 45 pallets a week coming in from Turkey. So it really allowed us to get our stock level back up, and of course supply CEF, with the stock that was needed. So yeah, we had a torturous probably 3 or 4 months, and then obviously it just went a bit haywire, and yeah, it's sort of settled down now. I think we're back to sort of, I wouldn't say we're above pre-pandemic levels, but I think for us that's a lot to do with the growth of CEF in the last few years.
It's so interesting hearing you say that, because that is exactly the experience I have out being an electrician, obviously much, much smaller scale. But we saw just the same. There was the initial few months where everyone's thinking, what is actually going to happen here?
Yeah.
And then the demand really ramps up and you're like, oh my God, how are we going to cope with this? And it was more the labor aspect with us, I think, and getting things done quickly enough. We did have an issue around overcurrent protected devices with certain brands, not yourselves. And then now we are kind of still riding that wave, I think. It has continued to keep going. I think we all kind of predicted it might tail off or there'd be some sort of recession and it'd really fall away, but it's not happened so far. It does seem to be continuing, and that's brilliant. And I think we're kind of buffered a bit in our industry because there is this growth in the EV market, in the solar market. There's lots of construction still taking place. So it is protected a little bit. And I guess one of the growth areas you might have seen, certainly we're speaking with Ian, is the EV industrial setup you've got there at Proteus.
Yeah. And I think, for EV, obviously it's a huge market now for us. So whether it be single phase or the 3-phase switchgear, how we got into that was because our versatility. Customers like yourselves coming to us and saying, look, this is the type of application that we have. This is what we need. What can you do? And we've got that versatility and that knowledge to be able to say, right, this is what we've got. We can assemble it like this. We can give some guidance, give some assistance where necessary. And I think, that's how we sort of got into that, certainly the bigger 3-phase distribution. And it's almost become, a big part of their business now. But on the back of that, I think, as you say, the likes of yourselves and other customers have got to use it and actually realize, actually this product is okay. And maybe it wouldn't have been the first choice for them. So actually, we're not just seeing the EV distribution. Actually, we're seeing the pull through now of everything else. We're seeing the standard, type B distribution boards. We're seeing, panel boards and floor standing switchboards. The inquiries are coming through thick and fast. So, and as you saw when you visited, the factory is busy. There is, not only do we have a lot of stock, but actually there's a lot of production going on as well.
There's a lot of people in there squirreling away to supply us with gear. And it was nice, actually. Neil Bridgman, you won't mind me mentioning him. He's had a recent delivery of one of those boards for a job on a network rail install. And he sent me a picture actually saying, look at this. This is incredible. It's come pre-built. They're used to kind of fabricating everything out on site. And, there's the issues around that about the order. You put your overcurrent protection, your RCDs, your SPDs, how it all links together can be quite complex. And the fact that can all be done for us by people who are in that production phase and are understanding all of the requirements and how those things link together, I think that's a huge positive. No one wants to be out in the cold trying to put this stuff together if we can avoid it. That's certainly my chain of thought anyway.
Yeah, I think obviously the team at at both the Proteus factories is strong, so there's a lot of knowledge there. The team has just strengthened, more and more at the industrial factory as they grow. That business, this year is doing exceptionally well. So yeah, and I think like yourself, and I hope you'd agree, if we can get people to the factories and understand, what we do, what we can offer, and the service levels we've got, just gives them a little bit more confidence, to go away and give us a shot, as it were.
Absolutely. I think people would be biting your arm off in droves if they had a look around and got to meet some of those teams. It's a really good setup. And away from that as well, even at the kind of domestic level, it was really interesting to see that, you're testing all of your products as they've been manufactured. I thought that was something that was really interesting, even to the short circuit tripping characteristics of the device and an overload. That was a nice machine that you showed me there at Proteus.
Yeah, I mean, the Hytron thermal test machine it's been invaluable for us. If we go back, 12 years ago, we were looking at, new RCBO development, and we were looking at certain components, and we identified that there was an issue as we were trying to finalize the calibration element of it, and we identified that there was a fault actually with one of the components. But it was actually that machine that actually found that for us. And, you know, a lot of head scratching at the time, a lot of back and forth, you know, is it this, is it that? So yeah, so that investment in that equipment was invaluable for us. And it's, you know, these things aren't cheap. But, you know, as a company, you know, the family, as we know them, you know, they say, look, you know, quality is, you know, is key, because we have to be, you know, we always say we have to be whiter than white. We've got to be honest in what we're doing. You know, requirements now for technical files, you know, if there's any concerns with products out in the field, you know, you've got to prove to your governing body that you've got technical construction files for all your equipment, and you've got that data to back you up. So yeah, there's a lot of work that's been done on that over the last, you know, 10, 15, 20 years now to get that data pulled together.
Yeah, the quality aspect was something that I really took away from my visit, and it was not just in terms of the individual devices, it's the assemblies as a whole as well. So you're kind of testing them while they're actually in a singular modular form, if you like, and then it's put together into a wider, bigger system. So it could be something simple like a small EV consumer unit that you supply into a customer with an SPD and a single breaker, but still the quality check in there. And I guess that's you trying to be super protective of your brand and what you're offering, because it is a competitive marketplace, and there are some colossal companies out there doing this, and you're trying to, you know, fight the fight with those guys, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we you know, we've been doing this obviously for 35 years or so now. So this will be our 35th year, I think, you know, 2023. So the company was set up back in 1988. So yeah, we've been doing it, you know, a number of years, and I guess probably in the last 20 or so years, it's really when we sort of started to progress real well, because we actually took control of what we were doing in terms of manufacturing our own devices, whether that be MCBs, RCBOs, RCDs. You know, we started doing that, you know, ourselves rather than, you know, outsourcing those type of things. So and that's really then when you get into, right, you know, let's just get into the nitty gritty about how that device operates. You know, how can we improve it? How can we make sure that we, you know, we identify any sort of latent defects that might be in there and capture that before it goes out into the field? Because, you know, we monitor that on a monthly basis. Product comes back to us, you know, from the wholesale network. Sometimes it's deemed as faulty, but, you know, all the CF branches, they get a report back, you know, automatically generated to say, actually, sometimes, you know, that product is not faulty, and it may well have been an issue on site that, you know, the customer's not realized or identified, because that happens from time to time. You know, the branch swapped the device for them, they put that device in, and then before you know it, they're like, oh, that's still tripping, so maybe there is something else. So, but we never get to hear that, but, you know, we deal with that, that's fine. So, but it's about identifying if there is, you know, an issue that we're unaware of in the product. You know, we want to capture that real quick. You know, touch wood, you know, we're on top of that at the moment. So it stands us in good stead.
I mean, you have that link with CEF, which must be helpful, both at a, you know, you can stock stuff on their shelves as well as your own, and, you know, they're going to give that direct feedback that maybe another wholesaler perhaps wouldn't. But yeah, it's like you say there with the RCD kind of thing, that instantly sprung out to me that we've had an issue in industry with RCD testing, and they've amended the regulations because of it. And you must see that from the other side of the fence when we're going out and testing something, it's maybe not performing in the way we expect, and we then return it to a manufacturer and actually they get it and there's nothing wrong with it. So you can kind of see where that change and stuff comes into play. Do you have an input into any of those decisions, or is that just something you have to work with?
I think that's a little bit we have to work with. I think we had a situation where we had a customer saying, look, the RCD is failing on the 5 times test, and we get, you know, replacement devices, we test them, we do the report, and we submit that, you know, back to the customer with some fresh devices and say, look, fit them, see what you think. And they come back and they say they're still not right. So this particular job, I went to site, and it was actually the meter, and it was a brand new meter. We use you know, you've seen them yourself. We use a Mega RCD testers here at the factory, and, you know, we test all our RCBOs and all our RCD devices with those. You know, they're, you know, routinely calibrated. But I went to site, put the Mega tester on, and it passed the device. So there was a variation between, you know, one tester and another. So there's a number of variables, I think, in the system. But of course, all we can do is actually just, you know, take our product, we do our testing, Yeah, the 5 times test is obviously gone now, isn't it? But I think you guys will probably continue to do that, will you?
I've just shared a video last night testing on the 3-phase Proteus board, actually, and I still did it. Although perhaps you don't have to, it's just easier in auto sequence. And if ever I had an issue, I will say this for electricians who might be watching, if ever you do get an issue, don't instantly assume there's something wrong with the product. Have a little delve into the manufacturer's literature, because some of them will say different things about the type of current that needs injecting to get an operation at those trip times. So do have a look at it. Don't just stick it straight back in the post, because it might be absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
But in terms of sort of new developments in industry, then one of the things that I think is difficult from a manufacturer and wholesale supply side of things is when AFDDs, for example, have just come out, is how do you even gauge what the demand for that might be? Because kind of the regs have gone to what I would term a halfway house, if that's for want of a better word, where they've introduced it but not really made it mandatory on everything. So how do you have your best guess at that?
Literally, yeah. Lick finger and see,
Is that how it works?
Not quite. There's a little bit more into it than that. Obviously, we had, I think it was the 18th edition when that was first launched back in 2018. Obviously, AFDDs was a recommendation at that time. Usually with recommendations, you know what's coming next, and it becomes a shall be or must be used. So we started our AFDD technology development back in 2018, in late 2018. And by sort of mid 2009, well, no, early 2019, we had our first device available out in the market. And what we did in that scenario is we already had our existing compact RCBO, which we've manufactured since 2013. And we actually did a second module with the AFDD technology attached to the side of it. And it allowed us in sort of 2019, early 2020 to put that product in the field strategically and see how that product performed in the market. What I would say is obviously AFDD technology is obviously relatively new in the UK. Lots of people are now bringing, that product into the market, and, whether they're all using the same technology or whether they're using their own technology. But what we did is I think we were on issue B of the firmware when we first launched it. In the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, we've been on issue G, which is the sort of latest derivative of the version we have of software for the device. And that's a stable device now. We're confident with that, and we don't see any sort of real need for any future developments of that, certainly at this stage. So in terms of gauging how many do we produce, that's a bit more of a challenge. What we do have the luxury of is obviously we've got the components for RCBO manufacture. We can get PCBs manufactured, and really it's that cost of the PCB. And you say, right, okay, how many do we buy? Do we buy a few thousand? Do we buy 20,000, 50,000? But we'll have that as a raw item to one side. And then as we see the trend of business of AFDDs increasing, which we have done, and we're seeing that increase steadily every month now, we then just manufacture more. So we've got all the component parts around us. It's just then getting the team to assemble those, get them tested, and get them to us as quick as they can. So that's how you manage that. So
it must be a challenge. I was just interested in the approach to it, because obviously we see it at a coalface level, if you like, with our consumers and customers, and you're seeing that as an oversight of industry. And it must be quite a difficult one, because you don't want to disappoint electricians who are coming to you for product, but equally you don't want to be sat on a factory full of a million quid's worth of gear you can't sell for 5 years until the regs.
Absolutely.
I think we will get to that point where the regs will mandate AFDDs on every circuit. It's the same journey we've all been through with RCDs, and we know how this works. Right. But it's that management of the process, isn't it? And it must be really difficult for companies like yourselves to be on top of that. It's just interesting to hear how you approach it. It seems to be kind of a watch it and see and be ready to react.
Yeah.
You are trying to manage that.
Yeah. So month end, we will run reports and we'll look at usage levels. We have what we call a reorder program, which looks at the usage, and you can adjust that usage figures to say, well, I want to look at the last maybe just 3 months usage, or maybe last 6 months, and it'll give us a projected stock of what we need to do. So don't get me wrong, it's been it's been a bit of a headache, and we have air freighted product here, there, and everywhere. It's not been all plain sailing.
And I guess some of these changes and developments will be driven by regulations and things that are happening in industry. But I imagine you've got some research and development going on yourselves of some products that you might be bringing to market that could be different or something that's unique. And you know,
Yeah.
that must be an ever-going task for yourselves, that research and development.
Yeah, I think as you saw when you came, we've got a team of 5 people in Redditch. We've got a dedicated one at the single-phase switchgear factory, and we've got a couple of people at our Telford industrial switchgear factory. So there's about 8 people in total, sort of for R&D. A lot of new product development comes sometimes from the likes of yourselves, and you'll come along and say, oh, if you only you could do this, or could you do that? Or a customer, may come up with, if we look at the meter isolator switch that we produce for the metering industry, that came directly from the meter industry, and they said, look, we need a product, we're getting X number of burnouts because the application of a cage clamp terminal with a meter tail connection is not great. So, this is the type of application that we need, and we developed that, over 10 years ago now. We put a patent on the terminal, and it's been successful. We've that terminal has probably made around about 15 million connections.
Wow.
in that time. And it's been a very successful product for us. And of course, what we've then done is use that same design and rolled that across other products in the range. I think we've always got to look forward and say, right, what's next? And my background obviously with product design, I'm very interested in product design and development. So always trying to see the opportunity of something that's a little bit niche, a little bit unique in the marketplace. I may have mentioned to you obviously something that we're looking at the moment, with a partner on the development of a new product. And yeah, we've got that ticking away in the background, and hopefully that will come through, and it'll be a very unique product for switchgear distribution, that certainly at this stage nobody's got. Whether there is a solution currently, but it's a 2-part system. We're looking to put that into 1 part. So
yeah, I won't ask you to give away all of your trade secrets at this juncture, but it is interesting. It's not just around the circuit protective devices either. Taylor sent me in a sample of your 100 amp connector blocks that are in the background behind you there to give out to apprentices. And I'll be honest, I'd never seen those before myself. And upon looking at them and my team looking at them, they're like, these are brilliant. So we've since ordered plenty for ourselves. And we had a job recently, I won't name the EV installation company, but they'd been to a job and they'd made a mistake connecting into an existing Henley block. So where you get the neutral and the line together in the same block, they got mixed up and the service was consistently going pop. The DNO had 3 goes at swapping fuses. It was all a bit of a mess, to be honest. And those blocks solve that problem to a large degree because they're independent to each other and they're color-coded.
Yeah. I mean, that again, that's just a prime example of somebody saying, can you color code them for us? And we're like, well, if you want, that's not a problem. So, and that was it. We had a big customer of ours, and they said, yeah, we want a brown and blue one. We want to easily identify, the phase and neutral of an installation. So we said, yeah, that's fine. And actually what we then found is as people then come across them in the industry, people say, oh, actually, that would be good. And we're finding now, for EV installers, they're using a lot. And then I saw I think somebody had put a post on LinkedIn, I think, and they had a blue one, a brown one, and then they put a black one in the middle for earth. And I thought, oh, maybe we should do a green one, put in the middle. So, and that's where the green one came from. And that was only recently. We did a quick poll, would you have a green one? And everybody was like, yeah, actually, we would do. So we've got that autonomy, and we can make those decisions quite quick here. So it's
good. And a lot of what we do out in industry as well, when we're installing things, it's not really a visual thing for a consumer. The way the tails are connected into a consumer unit and the wiring all in those areas is one of the more visual aspects of what we do. It's where they get a look at things.
That's it.
And the fact that's there, we can dress it nicely. We can make it look really good from a viewer's point of view for when they're interacting with the equipment. I think that's a nice touch, and allowing us the option to be able to do that with a bit of a simple old style Henley block, for want of a better word, is brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's I mean, the numbers of those that we're supplying is it's staggering, really. It surprised even me. I was like, okay, we probably ain't going to sell many, but yeah, the numbers are huge on those.
We'll keep ordering them, that's for sure. And the other thing I'd seen as well that seems to have kind of innovated most recently is an SPD alongside your main isolating switch. So you do an enclosure now where the SPD comes in there. Again, that solves a problem for us because on a lot of EV installations, we need to have that SPD, and sometimes we don't want to be interfering with an existing consumer unit. And it's a really simple and effective way to be able to do that. So it solves that problem again.
That's it. Yeah, that's again, it's just another one of those, products that's born out of, just a conversation. Somebody says, look, can you actually, we already buy the meter isolator switch from you, but there's applications now we want to add a surge. So yeah, we've done that, and we actually got dedicated buzz bars made up. We actually got our friends at Boddington's to do the 1,000-volt installation on that. So we dipped the buzz bars in that. So nice orange set of buzz bars across the top. So, but of course, it means then that you're not having to cable your SPD into a cage clamp terminal or any type of terminal, which could be a 6mm tail going in with a 25mm tail, and two different size conductors don't bode well in a cage clamp terminal. So it does away with that connection for you. So you've got the buzz bar connection. Just need to make your earth connection back to your main earth block, and away you go.
It keeps it simple as well, doesn't it? Space is often at a premium if you're working in a meter cabinet, for example, replacing the main isolator. And that's a component you can fit into a meter cabinet without too many complaints from the DNO. So it does solve an ongoing problem for people out working on EV stuff. So I think that's brilliant. Is there any other kind of growth areas that you see in the industry? Is there an exciting growth prospect that we've maybe not aware of?
Obviously, EV, I think, is here for some time at the moment. I think the demand for EV and the volumes that we've, certainly we've got on the order books at the moment, and potentially what's coming is substantial. I think would be fair to say. I think as everybody moves to the EV vehicle, I think yourself, did you get an EV van, or have you got one?
We've got one incoming. It's been on order 15 months now. I'm told it's coming in March. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. Okay. Oh, well, fingers crossed for that one. So I think EV certainly. I think for us, what we're capturing, as we spoke about a little bit earlier, where people are now coming across our product a little bit more frequently, I think we're getting that natural sort of organic growth from people thinking actually it's a good product, and they're coming back to us for more and more things. So yeah, panel boards, switchboards are very much big business at the moment. Containment, the steel cable management business at Telford, the volumes of business that they're doing is staggering, and the volume of steel that they're going through is far more than it's probably ever done under previous over previous years. So no, that's been one area. We're the single phase switchgear factory. We're seeing more and more project-led business that we're coming up against. I think that facility of being able to pre-populate consumer units for customers with surge devices, with energy monitoring, with AFDDs, with RCBOs, MCBs, whatever they need. We've got that facility here at Redditch, and we'll do that. So that's been certainly big for us at the moment. And obviously we've got some stuff coming up soon on wiring accessories as well.
Yeah, so there's lots of exciting growth areas for electricians and manufacturers. Like one of the ones I'd say that sticks out to me is solar and battery storage. And I guess there's maybe issues around DC isolation and things, and sort of overcurrent protection as well with DC stuff. Is that a market you're going to be getting involved with, or are you already involved in it?
Yeah, we do the AC rotary isolators. One of the other businesses within our group is looking after DC isolators at this time, but they're looking at that as a package with the batteries, inverters, solar PV systems. So rather than duplicating within our group, what other businesses are doing, that's sort of divvied up to a certain extent. So yeah, one of our other business units is looking at DC isolation at the moment.
Good stuff. Now, it's something that I think is going to be a massive growth area. We'll see as time moves along. If electricity keeps going up the way it is, everyone's going to have solar panels before too long. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the tech talks that CF are doing at the moment. Darren talks about, well, we've got these losses from going from DC to AC back to DC. Should we just go DC? All the way through. Probably some years away, and obviously we need equipment and installations to accommodate that. But yeah, if we look, some years down the line, that's probably going to be coming as well.
Yeah, for sure. As you get the vehicle to grid aspect to things as well, when you can take that energy out of the car, it seems to be a lot of conversion and messing around with it, doesn't it? If we
Yeah.
can kind of streamline that into a sensible voltage that works in both directions, we're going to get a lot better use of that energy. So I'm sure it will go along those lines. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Kieran, before we draw this one to a close?
I think the big thing for us, and I think when you came, we sort of spoke about people coming into the business and working their way through. And I think, if anybody is out there looking at, opportunities to get into the, electrical industry, but they don't want to be working, digging a trench for an armored cable, when it's -7.
Where do I apply?
I saw your picture in the middle of January. Then there are lots of opportunities. Certainly within our group. We are always looking for good people. Ideally with electrical background knowledge. It's not it's not a requirement as such, but yeah, those apprentices. We're taking on apprentices for engineering applications, design and marketing applications. So if people are thinking about they want to get into the electrical industry, but they don't want to be digging a trench in the middle of January, and they fancy something a little bit different and getting involved in the front end, then, if you like, of the manufacturing of that. Make contact with us. There's loads of opportunities that we have as a group, and it may not be switchgear, it may not be wiring accessories, it may be containment, it may be lighting. There's we're always looking for good people. So if anybody thinks they want to change, then give us a shout.
Such a good point to close on, and I'll leave links in the description of the video and the podcast for anyone who wants to go and get in touch with the team over there to get your applications in. And for those people who may be wanting to order the products that you're selling, I guess CEF is the place to go.
It is, yeah. CEF, as most people know, we're a sister company to CEF. All our products are supplied and distributed through them, but they're fast becoming probably the the number one wholesaler in the UK at the moment. So in terms of their growth, they've been on a meteoric rise over the last few years. So but it's multi-channel as well. So it's not just that, going to your local branch. They've got the online facility, they've got the catalog now. And yeah, that's going really well. So all our products are available via them.
And any of the custom build stuff, again, is that through CEF or is that direct to yourselves?
No, custom build stuff, yeah, again, through CEF. One of the good things with the relationship with CEF, you see, is that obviously being sort of brother and sister, then, if you like, anything that they get asked for, they usually pick up the phone and say, do me a favor, speak to my customer. So we have that direct relationship with the likes of yourselves, but ultimately the business will always go through CEF in that respect.
Perfect. And if anybody would like to get in touch with Kieran and he agrees, I'll leave a link to his LinkedIn profile in the description of the video, and you can go follow on his offerings and make contact with him. Thank you again to everybody at Proteus your end for the support you've shown to Apprentice 1-to-1. So for those that don't know, they're helping us out here with the academy with some funding, and they're giving us bits and pieces along the way, like the nice 100 amp collector blocks behind Kieran there to pass out to apprentices. I really do appreciate it. It makes a massive difference to what we're trying to do, and it's great to have a brand such as yourselves behind us.
Pleasure. No, thank you very much.
And until the next time, we will leave this one there. If anyone's got any questions or comments around this content, please do drop them in below. I'll keep an eye on those and I can point Kieran at them if you've got any questions for him. And until the next time, we will see you then. Bye now.
Bye.